Welcome to Trail Talk. I'm Edie.
And I'm Mary.
And we are live at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center. I feel like there is an echo today.
I know, I feel like we're like,
I feel like a little bit different room because we had some
yours in the back.
texture and paint done in our regular recording room.
Mhm.
But you know what? We're in the multi-purpose room studio today.
That's
We
right.
can make any room a studio around here. That's how good we
We are easy to work with.
We are
Casting call.
flexible. Yes, so let's just get right to it. We are talking about the Great State Fair of Oklahoma. Yes, I stole this from the PR that they used
Trademark to the
a long time ago.
The Great
I
State
can't
Fair of
remember
Oklahoma.
exactly.
There
I
you
can't
have it.
remember when they stopped using that, but I always loved it. That's what I've always called it in my heart is that. So let's just get in because there's a lot of information about state
Deep dive.
fairs. Yeah, very deep dive.
Whoa.
Okay, so the first slide shows an Indian fair. This picture is not from back when they were, you know what? I'm just gonna go back to this one for a few minutes.
Okay, we digress.
Well, there's some history of fairs that we probably should just cover
Okay.
to begin with. So believe it or not, the rural small town Oklahomans of the late 1800s, early 1900s, they saw county and state fairs as a social ritual, which load up, go to town, we're going to the fair.
Put your Sunday best on.
Yeah, they were agriculturally centered. The European tradition was established during the Middle Ages for
So-
fairs. So the idea of a
And you've heard about
fair-
Renaissance fairs and things like that.
Right, which, you know, that's a throwback to, those kind of Middle
Right,
Ages.
Where they had
Um,
gatherings
and
like that.
where they would, have competitions
Mhm.
and people would sell things.
Mhm.
And, that was kind of what it was. It was a promotional, kind of a commercialized,
Kind of like small business owners type
Right,
coming
and
together and
which we see that today. I mean, that has absolutely carried on, just that whole idea, that little bit of commerce and entertainment and competition, camaraderie, all of those things, people coming from the countryside
right,
to a central location.
get their
and-
names out there.
Yeah,
kind
get
of
exactly.
publicized.
Well, yes, and then here in the US, they became more agriculturally centered to where it was about, here's the latest technology for planting, here are the latest tools and implements and
kitchenwares
machinery.
and
That
kinds of
that
things.
became seeds. Here's what we're doing with
Farm
these
technology.
animals.
Mhm.
Here's how we're breeding. Here's what we're feeding. All of those things. Then, of course, you also have the companies that produce those, the
Technology,
machinery,
machines and
the
seeds.
seed, the feed, and all
Right,
of that. And so you can see where
And things branch.
yeah, how to plant crops better, how to be more efficient, how to have a bigger yield, all of those things that we still talk about today
Mhm.
at the fair. I love this, that this has just been so consistent through the years. So in the 1840s, manufacturers began to use the fairs to promote their different things. And the first fair was held in September of 1841 in New York. And because this is an agricultural nation, as the country moved westward, so did the fairs. And they were, get this, you wonder why the fairs are in the fall? Well,
Here's
because
why.
crops had been gathered. People had put their crops in for the winter. They'd harvested all the summer crops. They'd done all the work. The fall was a time of rest and they had free time to go someplace and
Kind of their downtime.
get ideas
Mhm.
to do some
For their
things
next crop, their
Mhm.
next.
next planting
Season,
season,
right.
yeah, and spend some fun time with the family. So I mean, it was just it's such a great idea. I just had no inkling that all of this was behind the fairs. So the first fairs were repeated here in Indian Territory, you know, in what would become Oklahoma. Actually, Oklahoma Territory and Indian Territory had like their own separate, because they were separate entities.
Mhm.
it's cool. Anyway, so, Indian Territory's main economic activities involved agriculture. I'm gonna go back to the Indian Fair slide. So, in the 1830s, we know the 5 civilized tribes, the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Muskogee or Creek, and the Seminole there was the forced removal from the southeast US to what was called Indian Territory, and it included the whole body of what is now Oklahoma, not the Panhandle.
Correct.
So,
the square.
right, yeah. And, so they were lived in agriculturally based communities there, those Native Americans did.
Right.
So they brought those practices here. So the idea of the fair continued.
It was a natural progression for it.
Yes, exactly. The Cherokee Agricultural Society, in 1845 held the territory's first fair. The Farmers Club revived it in October of 1870, where both men and women exhibited articles of home manufacture. So these were items they would make at home. And in the 1870s, everything was pretty much made at
Right.
home.
Wasn't,
If you're
manufactured in a
isolated,
ware-
yeah, you're
warehouse.
living out here
Right,
in the Great
right,
Plains, you're not shopping at.
you're not mass producing.
No. So, as noted in the Cherokee Advocate, the displays would speak effectually of our national standing and progress for those of our white friends who have a mind to come. So it was an opportunity for the Native Americans to share their culture
Heritage and things.
with any white visitors who would like to come
Right.
and see
They
what
weren't
they
closing
make
it
and
off.
what they do. Yes. I feel like they were extending the right hand of
Mhm,
friendship,
mhm.
despite the fact that
They had been,
about, 5 years before, the Cherokees actually didn't come here until 1839. And so that was just 6 years later, where a great deal of their people had been decimated during that move. They lost 1/4 of their population. For them to come back with that kind of an attitude says so much about them as a people. In September of 1871 in Tahlequah, the Cherokee Agricultural Society, whose president was Reverend Stephen Foreman, held their second fair. And he won best for his Irish potatoes, apples, peaches, and fresh preserves. Now, I'm not going to say.
he
that
swept the
it's-
category.
Well, it's interesting that the president won those things.
Right, right.
And then R.O. Ross won for his saddle horse, and Mrs. Eagle for her cotton cloth, and Mrs. R. Ross for her tatting, which tatting is a little
Like a loom.
trim that
Goes around
they
things, right?
put like around a collar or a cuff or on a
Like that little-
handkerchief.
Yeah.
Very fine,
Needlework.
beautiful little needlework, yeah. There's a little hook thing. My
Mm.
great grandmother has a
Yeah.
hook and some tatting that she worked on. So then the International Fair started in the autumn of 1875, where the Creek and Cherokee came together. And this was held in Muskogee. And that fair continued along with other Indian fairs off and on in Indian Territory for a number of years. In 1876, the Cherokees decided to have their own again. The National Council formed a Fair and Agricultural Association where they sold shares, set up the fair, provided the premiums. Premiums are the winnings
Mhm.
that awarded in these various competitions, and they charged admission. This admission thing is important to note. Board members included Dennis Bushyhead and Daniel Ross. Now, I'm saying their names specifically. This information came from the Oklahoma Historical Society, but there was a Reverend Bushyhead who came from the far east of the US, North Carolina, Georgia area.
Mhm.
And John Ross was one of the Cherokee leaders who actually signed.
John Ross.
Yes, he signed the papers that made the agreement with the treaty, you could say, with the US government, that the Cherokees would agree to leave
Okay.
their homelands.
Okay.
And so that family
It has
there's some
intertwining
things, yeah.
there. 'Cause
Yeah,
this
and
is
Reverend-
Dennis and Daniel.
Yeah, so they're descendants. I'm sure of the people who actually came here during that time, but that's worth a look if you want to know a little bit more about those, all of that. And then in 1882, Veneta businessmen established the territory's first town and country fair. So now the townspeople are looking to be included in that. So then, post 1889, the land runs. Beaver boasts that they had the first Oklahoma territorial fair
Which is in the Panhandle.
in the Panhandle, way out there in the Panhandle in 1891. Oklahoma City had its first fair in 1889, just a few months after they became a city. And that continued through the 1890s. In 1892, the first Oklahoma Territorial Fair was held in Oklahoma City. Cleveland County had its first in 1893. And then you might recognize some of the names of these cities: El Reno, Newkirk, Cloud Chief, Payne County, and G County. That was at Arapahoe. I think, is that going to be Garvin County? It's probably not Greer County. Greer County was down in the southwest that was still part of Texas. So I don't know for sure, but, here's an actual picture from a fair. This is not in
Dressing in
Oklahoma.
suits.
Yeah,
Things for fair.
this is not an Oklahoma fair, obviously. You can tell by
Right.
the landscape.
Right.
But this was a photograph. I could not find any from Oklahoma. But this is a gathering. This
Right.
is, I mean, how different does it look?
Sure, it would be that, just different looking.
Except for the fact that everything is concrete and, aluminum siding or
Mhm.
brick or whatever now, and people don't dress like that anymore. It still looks the same.
Vendors
Yeah.
set up here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma City's, first, they've got this one happening October 6th of
Mhm.
1907. Let's see, where was that?
So it's
Okay.
great crowds to display new states products, the first exhibition. and
Uh-huh.
display.
Yeah, so, we've got this picture of the horse racing. All of these things were a huge part of all of these fairs. And there were always entry fees and gate admissions, to help
the
cover
fair.
the expenses. I mean, you have to have something like this, it's gonna cost money. Then there were the crop carnivals. It wasn't like, this is the best corn, this is the biggest ear of corn,
Okay.
this is the biggest pumpkin.
Biggest watermelon.
Yeah, this is the
The
tallest.
largest, yeah.
This is, two watermelons that grew together and
Kind of like oddities.
at some
of the
point, yes,
agricultural.
yes. And then you also had your three-legged chickens, your two-headed calves. I know you guys have gone through some of that stuff before. Don't try to deny it.
The largest pig on earth.
Yeah, don't try to deny that. We've all walked through some
I've-
of those things. Yeah, I've done that.
I've done it.
And then, of course, the midway, the traveling amusements where
Mhm.
you throw the balls
That you
or,
can't ever win.
and you can never win
Bring the milk jug.
yes, all of those things.
Mhm.
And then the rides, of course, were also all a part of these early kind of the carnival type things.
Can't get me off one of those. I love those rides in the middle.
Oh, I know, the ones that look, you don't know how many times they've been serviced over
Get
the
up and down.
last 50 years they've been in
They
use.
probably race to see how fast they can put them up.
Yeah. So, in 1901, the territorial legislature, so this is prior to statehood, then 1909, the state
Right,
legislature, required all county commissioners to conduct regular farmers' institutes. So tax money could provide premiums in a countywide competition of experimental work in livestock breeding or domestic science, which is also.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so at the turn of the century, then the federal government became involved in adult and youth vocational education. I mean, in these days, y'all, being an agricultural nation was big. It was a very big part of who the United States
Right.
was. And in 1907, the agents of the county agents worked with Oklahoma Farmers Institute and Rural Boys and Girls Clubs, including 4-H. This is 1907, 4-H, to prepare Head, Heart, Hands, and Health, if you're wondering what the 4-H is for. I was a member. To prepare crop exhibits and livestock for county fairs and state fair. So now we're getting funding put
Right,
in.
right.
It's not that they're gonna have to raise their own money.
Right.
Then in 1914, the Smith-Lever Act established the Cooperative Extension Service. We've heard about the Extension Office,
Mhm.
Oklahoma State
Right.
as an extension office, yeah.
Mhm.
And so each state's land grant college, in Oklahoma, there were two, Oklahoma A&M, Oklahoma State University, and the Colored Agriculture and Normal University, which is now
Langston.
Langston. And the idea was to give agricultural research information directly to farmers and their families through this interaction with the county extension offices. So by this time, these agents were already the fair judges, you know, they
They
were
were
there
involved.
judging the crops and all of these things, the animals. And in the 1917 Smith-Hughes Act provided funding for the extension service personnel to work more closely with 4-H and later FFA and FHA, Future Homemakers of America, Homemakers of the, what's it called? Makers of America, Homemakers of the Dear Land We Love.
I didn't know the song.
Yeah, reach out to someone. I'll sing it again. I won't sing it, but I know.
You know the words, sing along with,
Yeah.
sing along with him.
So fairs became more of an educational tool for rural youth. So it wasn't always just about all the midway and all the fun. There's always been an educational aspect
Background to it.
to
Background.
this.
Mhm.
So until 1915, the operation of the county fairs charged this admission. And an admission, especially if you have a large family, you don't have a lot of extra income, and you come to town to go to the fair, but you can't afford to get in.
Mhm.
You can't afford to stay. You can't
Or you
afford
can't
these
afford
things.
once anything once you're in.
So in 1915, Representative Paul Nesbitt of McAllister, shout out to Paul Nesbitt, presented a bill to allow county commissioners to operate free fairs and use tax money to pay the advance expenses. Hence the free fair.
Like Stevens County Free Fair.
Yes,
Here.
the Surreal Free Fair, my little community where I grew up.
That shout out there.
Has a
Surreal.
free fair, that's right. So, the Oklahoma Free State Fair at Muskogee. So in addition to the Oklahoma State Fair that was in Oklahoma City and the Tulsa
I was
State
gonna say,
Fair,
we always knew it as Tulsa,
Yes.
right?
there was a free fair in Muskogee. Oklahoma City and Tulsa have always charged admission.
Mhm.
They never went into the free fair status, but the Muskogee Fair did. Now, Muskogee was home to the original International Indian Fair where the Creeks and the Cherokee came
Right.
together.
Right.
But it was also where the Negro State Fair was held. So the previous article is from 1916, this one's from 1917. So despite the fact that there are all these fairs going on, from 1907 until the 1950s, Oklahoma was a racially segregated state. And African Americans had to have their own fairs, and there was this pyramidal, I guess is the word, where you had to win if you had an exhibit. Your exhibit had to win at the local level.
Okay.
Then it could go to the county level. If it won at the county level, then it
Like
could go to
like
the
an
state
animal
level. An
entry?
animal, a crop, you
Okay.
canned something, you sowed
Okay.
something,
The best of.
best up, right, or whatever. You had to win these different categories in order to move up to the next level. And any non-animal entry could only go to either Oklahoma City or Tulsa. They couldn't go to both. Animals could go to both.
Okay.
Okay, but you had to work your way
Way up.
up, yeah. So like a pyramid. So in 1915, oil man Cootie Johnson motivated Black businessmen to set up the Negro State Fair, first held in Muskogee, then at Boley and Wawoka through 1920. The African American County Demonstration Agents organized all Black events such as the one held in Oklahoma County at Luther. And the winners moved up into segregated competitions. So even though they were at the Oklahoma State Fair, there were two different competitions going on. Segregated, yes, believe it or not. So the same pyramid system was set up for everyone, though. It wasn't just, for the African Americans. It was everyone.
Everybody had that. same
Had to,
system.
yeah, you had to win your way up to compete at the higher level fairs. So during the Great Depression, fairs pretty much shut down. Now, let's see. In the mid-20s, as many as 350 fairs were held across the state at those three levels.
That's a
Local
lot of
counties.
fairs.
Yeah. And in 1928, free fairs were held in 52 counties and paid admission events were held in 24. But then in the 30s, a lot of the fairs were canceled. Nobody had that
That's
extra
income.
income or anything really. So, so then let's see, county fairs have remained the standard in Oklahoma. County fairs can charge a fee, but most of them are free. So there's the typical 20th century fairs made up of two kinds of activities, livestock and crop, then arts, crafts, and homemaking. And then you have your youth and vocational. Then you have your rides, your midway, your food, all the food, all of the food. Oh, man.
You walk in and you just smell it. and it's
Yeah,
just a
listen, I'm
smell.
going to encourage you to go to Oklahoma State Fair website because they have, it's very
Yeah,
easy to
she
find
went through the new
everything.
foods.
Yeah, they got some, a little bit of fried everything.
I
And then
think it you fry.
some, what was the thing with the pickles and then the cotton candy and
Yeah,
I don't know.
there was, some of it was not as.
I just got a weird feeling right
advertised.
there talking about that. Yeah, so, anyway, you guys know all the things that we're talking about as far as,
I can remember waking up. I mean, we like literally woke up broad early morning.
oh, yeah,
I mean, we were there before the gates opened.
yeah.
My dad was always one of those, we spend it all day, we packed and we're like doing this in the videos, dragging, but by gosh, we got our food.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was something you hit immediately. You got your food.
yeah. I
You went
mean,
hungry and you left fuller than a tit.
yeah, exactly. So, the livestock competitions have always been a part. There are other animals that compete in these livestock competitions now, but dairy cattle, pigs, sheep, and then, just cattle. I can't think, beef cattle.
Right.
Beef cattle. And I chose this picture because
The tail.
can you see his tail? This is how
His
we
horn.
prepared cattle when I was showing.
So
in the-
hairstyles for animals have changed.
Yes,
So,
I think so.
what
Do
you're
they still do this business?
saying.
Very familiar.
Really? I mean, this was a whole thing. My brother showed cattle.
The
And
bigger the ball, the better.
well, the hair that hangs at the bottom of a cow's tail is about like this.
So
And
you
I mean,
teased it?
you just tease it. You just stand there and tease it. And then you take the hair from the back and you pull it around and tie it up
I was
in-
making it even bigger.
around the tail so it makes a ball. And you just use as much Aquanet hairspray as you can. And you
Wind,
spray that. in
No
place.
wind, no hair.
Yeah, you brush their hair up and spray it all in place. I mean, it's a whole thing. This is a little
Don't get,
Southdown.
don't smoke cigarettes.
That's for sure.
Livestock, you
Yeah.
have filet mignon.
My first lamb that I showed was a Southdown. And
Those
that's what
fucking
breed
legs.
this is, yeah. Yeah, mean little.
Mean little
things.
boogers.
Yeah. I can't really tell what this is because it's all one color. It's, yeah, it looks like it could be a dewrock to me, because it's all one color and it's dark.
Yeah.
And that's about the only, what Berkshires I think are black, if you could see its face, 6 white points.
But
So
look at all
you
these
can't-
guys, they're looking pretty intimidated by this one pig.
Yeah.
They're like,
I love how the FFA jacket still looks the same though. That's
I'm
great.
loving the socks.
Yeah, yeah, this was 1954, I think, when that picture was taken. I think, I can't remember where.
That looks about right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna talk specifically about the Oklahoma City, the State Fair of Oklahoma.
And when she's saying that, she's on Oklahoma City, right?
Yes, I'm talking about Oklahoma City now. So, by 1892, Charles Gristmill Jones had spearheaded the Oklahoma Territorial Fair Association. And then he enlisted other people from Oklahoma City, which you'll recognize some of these names. Ed Overholser, William McClure, James Gary, H.D. Trosper, D.F. Stiles. Some of these names, Trosper Park, over Lake Overholser. I mean, these men were very
influential.
much a part of creating Oklahoma City. They had fairs, they stopped, they started again. It was kind of a back and forth thing in Oklahoma City. In October 5th, 1907 was a historic day. That was this first, this is Mark is talking about, the fair. All attention that day was focused on the opening ceremony of a new institution located a mile east of downtown, the Oklahoma State Fair. From the humble beginnings in 1907, the Oklahoma State Fair has grown to become one of the premier state fairs in the nation. So they have had a very successful run at the Oklahoma State Fair, which is held in Oklahoma City. In addition to animal competitions, all these fairs have had horticulture competitions. So here we have, these do not look like freak. These look like, we're comparing the pumpkins and tomatoes and potatoes and melons and
Cucumbers.
and I don't know,
Gourds, maybe?
Gourds, yeah, maybe or some squash or something over there. Hay, there's hay up there, corn things. So just a little bit of everything. Here are a couple of early pictures. Here's the Tulsa State Fairgrounds.
Bells.
Yep.
It's all there right there.
Yeah.
The man,
And I was looking.
the
for
man's right here. I believe is where he is. He's out front of the building.
What, that big gold guy?
The driller.
The driller, yeah. Is he gold? Yeah, he's gold. And then this is from the Elk City Fair. This is, I took the year down. This was very early
1950.
1820s. This is 1950.
Okay.
This one was in the 1920s, I believe. Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
Got the bonnet.
Coca-Cola.
Ferris wheel, of course, has always been there.
Ferris wheel is always there. Okay, Oklahoma City Fair. So here's a look at 1909. They colorized this picture, of course, but this is 1909. The entrance, or this is one of the exposition buildings. This is the entrance to the
fair.
State Fair in 1925.
Little different.
So, yeah, it looks very different now, but in these years, this was when it was in a different location
Right.
from where it is now.
Okay.
Let's see. By the late 1930s, a movement had emerged to place the fair in a different location. The old site was unsuitable,
Flooding
mainly,
things.
flooding, limited parking. And it was very close to the Oklahoma City oil field, which means it was probably close to where the state capitol building is, because there were oil
Pumps and jacks,
barracks
things
and
there.
things over there. So, here's the fairgrounds in 1930. So this would have still been, the old one. Yeah. How cool. The
Oh,
fairs
it's like Texas's. How they have the buildings on the side.
Yes, it does. It does. Which, some of the things that Texas did is some of the things that Oklahoma kind of patterned some
Adapted,
things
right?
after.
Right.
So during World War II, several state fairs, including this Texas, closed, but Oklahoma's remained open except for 1945. And they used that as an opportunity to educate the public, raise civilian morale, and exhibit the U.S. Armed Forces equipment and prowess. Then the relocation plans became a reality in 1951 when
That's 20 years later then.
they acquired 440 acres in the western part of Oklahoma City, which is Reno and what is that? Yeah, 10th and, well, between Reno and 10th, and then what is that? Portland, maybe, May and Portland.
Portland through there.
I think right around in
Mhm.
there. And in 1954, they held the first fair there on
So,
those grounds.
Didn't take them long to get it all.
Yeah. And that first year, they had 416,000 visitors in 9 days. Yeah.
That's a lot through those gates.
Yeah. So this is what they did is the city passed a bond to buy the land. And then the fair organization leased
it.
the land from the city.
Okay.
And so 1 month out of the year for the fair. So that left all of that other land,
Time.
buildings and all those things to be used for other things,
Mhm.
which the city then in turn was able to benefit
Right.
from.
Rodeos and things like that, right?
Yes, exactly. So that all started in the 50s. In the 60s, Edward L. Gaylord, not to be confused with E.K. Gaylord, became president of the Fair Board and ushered a new period of development. And that's when some of the buildings that we're familiar with today were constructed.
Mhm.
Transportation building, the Arts and Crafts building, Made in Oklahoma building.
Yes,
The agriculture
yes.
building, the Fairgrounds Arena, better known as the Big House. If you
The
Play,
big house.
play basketball, you want to make it to the Big House. And then, of course, they had the monorail, the Space Tower, and All Sports Stadium,
Mhm.
where the 89ers played baseball, y'all.
Oh, I forgot about that. Used to have a baseball field down there. I
Oh
forgot
my
about that.
goodness.
That's been torn down.
I spent so much time.
I
in that
forgot
baseball
about that.
Right, yeah, it was so great. So I have some great flashback pictures.
yeah.
Yeah, so here's kind of a picture of the
Space
Midway.
Needle.
Yeah, we have some guys, I guess they're working there. They have nice little, almost
brooms.
Disneyland hats and brooms.
Mhm.
And so they're probably cleaning up.
Now, they're not in suits and ties anymore because we
No.
have a mom here.
Yep.
See her little kid or some dog.
It looks
Yeah.
like a dog, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Here's a picture of the Midway from another
Mhm.
location. Here is a picture
Kind of
up
an aerial,
high.
maybe from
Uh-huh.
the monorail.
Yeah, looking down, or from another place with some lighting,
maybe
and
like a-
fireworks and
maybe
stuff.
Seriously.
Here we have the monorail and the Space Needle, the Coliseum. This, I mean, I showed sheep in that. The barns, we would just have to walk our animals over from the
Mhm.
barns and go in there. Now, of course, Disney on Ice, they have a rodeo, they have
Concerts.
concerts
Mhm.
all during the fair, all of these,
This has all been released already.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
starts
the
today.
fair starts, started today at 89er Stadium.
Can't believe I forgot about the baseball
Yeah.
field.
Yeah, I even went to the Big 8 baseball tournament
Really?
there. Yes, indeed, back in the day. This little Oklahoma Publishing Company, this little thing,
Mhm.
we didn't necessarily take our sheep to the stock show during the
Uh-huh.
fair. But in the spring, there was a stock show, a spring stock show held here, and we would walk our sheep up
Mhm.
to the top of that, because you exercise your sheep. You take
Exercise.
them around on leashes, kind of like dogs. All the different kinds of foods. I mean, you have canning, competition for vegetables, art. There's an art. Well, they have tasting things.
Yes.
There are 4-H demonstration competitions.
I love the things too where you go up and they have your like doing, they have the headset, they're showing.
Yes,
the
they have the
demonstrations.
knives and
Mhm,
doing all those
mhm,
kind of things.
mhm.
Yeah, there's a whole art display. This made me
Mhm.
think of Youth Art Month
Yeah,
here.
Oklahoma State. Fair,
Yeah.
Mhm. You.
There's one where there are photographs, and one year I was walking around in there, this was well after I got out of high school. And there was a picture of from my high school, the track team running the mile relay. That's what
Mhm.
we called it back in the day. It was the last event, it was at State,
Mhm.
and they won the event. And there was one of my friends running
Really?
with the
I-
baton.
I-
I can still see that picture. It was just so cool to be in there, but someone had
Mhm.
entered that picture.
Mhm.
And just some you know, some of the big
Ribbons.
prize kind of things that they give.
Mhm.
And of course, the Midway, here you go. You got your corn dogs, poncho dogs. Look for the poncho dog stands. Those are the ones that are like
The big ones.
extra, yeah.
And the turkey legs
Oh, the root beer in the little
Frosted.
jug,
and the,
corn on the cob.
oh, I just went, the powdered sugar.
Oh, funnel
Funnel
cake.
cake,
Dan's Indian
Mhm.
tacos, the
Yeah.
cinnamon rolls, the Dippin' Dots.
Dippin' Dots. In Tulsa, we used to go and there was a Cajun place you could get the gumbo. It was
Oh.
a gumbo stand and it was in the building, I remember with the cars. And I remember we would go in there and
Oh,
we'd eat and it would be air conditioned and we'd have our break and then we'd eat gumbo. It was so good.
I'm,
It was a little spicy, but we were young. That's, yeah,
oh,
temperature hot, yeah,
well,
but we were
you
in the air
know,
conditioning.
it's hotter now than it used to be. Thanks global warming.
Yeah,
For nothing.
that's why we sit in the air conditioning.
Yeah. So in 1975,
Okay.
the fair's attendance eclipsed 1 million for the first time. Since 1975, school day, we used to
Mhm,
always go on school day.
Mhm.
I mean, load up on a bus and ride up to the state fair. What
Yeah.
a great thing. In 2004, the length of the fair was shortened from 17 days to 11.
17 days is a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
That's a
and
lot.
that's the current. It will run from today through the 22nd of
Mhm.
this month. Some special days, I wanted to inform you guys about a few things. Okay, so it's open essentially from 10 to 10, most every day.
Okay.
Some things like a building might close at 9:30 or
Concert maybe
a
going
food
on.
vendor might go open till 10:30,
Mhm.
different things like that, but pretty much 10 to 10. If you are under 18, there has to be an adult 25 years of age for every 5
Under 18.
under 18.
Okay.
And it sounds like they're probably gonna be checking IDs at the gate for that.
Okay.
And that is after 5.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
Makes
after
sense.
5. So, just know that information.
can't drop
up
the kids
front.
off the fair.
Right, that's right. The prices, adult tickets are 16, children, let's see, 5 and under are free, so it'd be 6 and up, 6 to 18 probably, or 17 is $10, 5 and under are free. You can buy a season pass.
Bands.
You can get a season pass for $40
That's per person.
per person. The wristband is for the Midway stuff. So that's in addition to this. The 17th, which is next Tuesday, is $4 admission and $4 food items. Most food items will be $4. That sounds like a good day to go to
Yeah.
me. And if you go to their website, they have all the foods that are included in that list. And on the 18th, next Wednesday, that is senior day, 55 and up get in for free. And you get a $5 wheel ride pass. And I'm pretty sure that means that thing right there.
Okay.
So that was also a day I thought worthy of mentioning.
And
Now,
these are probably all on the website as well, right?
yes, all of these things are on the website. Oklahoma State Fair will get you in all of this information. Also, the state fair does make donations.
Mhm.
You can apply March 1st through June 30th for the current year, and that activity that you're applying for has to happen between April 1st and mid-August, so it does not include the fair. But donations are limited to 4 outside gate admission tickets per each request, but that if there's something big going on at the fair, because there are all kinds of things happening there all the time. There are gun shows, there are car shows, there are horse shows, RV shows,
Boat.
there's all those kinds of things.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
that's something that you can look into. And also, if you have a high school junior or senior, you might want to know that since 2002, the Oklahoma State Fair Scholarship Program has, provided over $420,000 to deserving and qualified Oklahoma youth. Each year they give 10 individual awards. Beginning in 2015, the scholarship amount was increased to $2,500 per winner.
Hey, That's not
So,
change
right now, it's a very small window for when you
Right.
apply. It was like February to March
Yeah,
sometime. I mean,
like
it
3
seemed like it
weeks.
was 2 or 3 weeks.
It's not
Yeah.
here 3 weeks.
But again, this is all on their fair website, Oklahoma State Fair. And, there is a application and then an interview. So, it's a two-step process, but, something definitely worth checking into. It's open to students who have participated in the fair at some level, not just
Right, I was
attendance.
gonna say, not just attendance.
Not just attendance.
Yes,
You need
yes.
to have been there for something. So anyway,
Love
there
it.
you have
I can
it.
smell fair.
I
I
know.
smell fair.
I
right
know
now.
how
I don't know
fun.
how strange that is, but
I love the state fair. I can remember going up in the Space Needle. I can remember riding the monorail.
you remember those little necklaces that they're kind of like chain link like this? And you
Uh-huh.
could buy the little clips and they had the little charms. You guys remember those?
Yeah.
I remember getting those and the
Uh-huh.
beads that you twist.
Oh, yeah,
And-
the twist beads.
I loved all that. I love it.
Oh, my goodness.
She's
I
just looking
forgot
at us
all
like we're
about it.
crazy.
I mean,
I just remember all that. It's
Yeah.
just-
walking
all the
around
t-shirts.
with, oh yeah, with all your friends and just hanging out at the fair,
Just love
the
it.
smell, the
Mhm.
sounds. I love going through the buildings.
I didn't like going through the animals, sorry. When I was younger, the smell and the heat.
It's a lot,
It's a
but
lot.
Bailey and I love
I was-
animals.
I know.
Yes.
And
sorry.
I mean, showing livestock.
I went through them, but
Yeah, showing livestock on the state level. I went to the Tulsa State Fair to show animals a few times. I think I only did that Oklahoma City once. We went to it's called Oklahoma Youth Exposition now. I don't know that they ever called it that. It was always March. At the fairgrounds. Is that what?
So OIE and the Oklahoma State Fair are different.
Right,
Okay.
right. That's what I'm saying. I always went to the
Oh.
spring show at the
Yes.
fairgrounds, but it was not during the fair.
it wasn't during the fair.
Yeah, but there is a show during the fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's prior to the Tulsa State. Fair.
Yes, Tulsa was always, like, there was a week between the end of this Oklahoma City and the beginning of the Tulsa State Fair.
So
Probably
the fun
still
lives
is.
on.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
That's right.
oh, yeah. Anyway, great memories, great history of fairs, and guys, go out and support the Oklahoma State Fair this year. If you are going up to Tulsa, go to that one, go to both
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
Make a time out of it.
That's right.
It's great to have this kind of history and just kind of know what fairs are
Reminisce.
all about. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you again next week.
Till then,
Happy
Happy trails.